Everybody, welcome back to the Insiders Lounge. Today we have another special guest. John, thanks for coming on, and feel free to give a quick introduction to everyone.
Yeah, no, thanks, Chad, for having me on. John Bradford, head coach, North Carolina FC. Been with the club for 18 years now in different capacities, but excited to be on and share a bit today.
Brilliant. Let's get started with your playing career. Most know you for your coaching and your time at North Carolina. Start with your early days as a young boy playing soccer, and then we'll get into kind of your university experience and move forward.
Yeah, I consider myself very fortunate for the coaches that I had. Honestly, when I was growing up, I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. John Hackworth, who now is at St. Louis City, was I think my U11 youth team coach because he was there at Wake Forest University. Jay Vidovich was a state team coach. Karim Desir, Paul Dinknor, guys that just happened to be in Winston-Salem during that time. Billy Hardman, that I was able to play for growing up. But even at a young age, I was enjoying it, but being able to take away a bit from the coaching aspect and learning from those guys that went on to great careers. And then youth national team wise, was fortunate enough to go through the ODP system and play at U14, 15, 16, 17, 18 with the national team and had great coaches there as well, notably Jay Miller and Tom Durkin. And even more guys, Steve Allison, Rusty Scarborough. So anyway, I think the way that I got into coaching was through playing and having those experiences, interactions with great coaches there, and then how that kind of influenced me going forward. And after the youth career, was able to have some interest from some different schools. Previous to that, I played in the U17 World Cup qualifying and was actually played every minute of all six of those games in that qualifying experience. And then, unfortunately, before the U17 World Cup was held, ended up injuring my knee, and I think that also helped me kind of understand, you can be part of something for the lead up and for all the years going into it, but then when it doesn't happen, how can you kind of reset and keep going from there? And so after that kind of let down, was still very much in the college recruiting process, healed up fine, and then chose to go to Furman University to play for Doug Allison, who's still there, another great coach that influenced me as well. And then after Furman, got pretty much directly into coaching.
Brilliant. Yeah, I love hearing the stories behind how people get into coaching. Some it's just purely to stick around the game, but with coaches like that leading towards your coaching career, you can't get much better than that. With the national team experience, can we dive deeper into that kind of your experience from U14 to, you said, U18, right?
Yeah. No, it's an unbelievable experience, and as the academy director at NCFC Youth now, and all the time I've spent on the youth side, and having see other young players kind of have those opportunities, it takes me back to when I was fortunate enough to have that. There's something to be said for the ODP system that was kind of the way it used to be. It still exists now, but it's not as directly pipelined into the national team as it used to be. But competing with your state team, then your region team, and then being named to the national team, and having an opportunity to come together and play against the world's best at that time, and really try to develop from that standpoint. So those ages from 14, 15, 16, 17, it was traveling to domestic camps in the United States. It was playing overseas, and we played in France, we played in Spain, Portugal, Costa Rica, and many others that probably escape me right now. But the opportunity to step onto the field, put on the jersey with the national team crest, even at a young age, had a massive impact on me. And later, in coaching career, was able to be an assistant coach with U.S. national teams, and it all kind of came full circle to be able to be a part of it still, but on the other side of the touchline.
And then post college career, you ended up going straight into coaching, right? I believe it was one of your teammates, Ryan. Where is it? Ryan. I don't even want to attempt that last name.
Yeah, Ryan Higginbotham.
That's it.
So Ryan was an assistant coach at Furman, and he was a little bit older, and he had gone on to left Furman and had gone back to Dallas Texans Soccer Club, which is where he had played previously before he attended Furman, and then became an assistant coach after. But they were starting a West Texas division out in Midland and Odessa, Texas, to expand the Dallas Texans Soccer Club. And so he had communicated back to me and a teammate of mine, Anthony Escobar, to see if we'd be interested in helping him kind of start that division of the club out there. And so, my playing days were pretty much over, and was trying to figure out what to do next. And the opportunity came about to head out there and start the coaching career. So, in the middle of high school football country, and trying to get a soccer club started, it was a unique experience, but one that I think was certainly foundation of kind of my coaching and trying to find my own path.
And then a little bit of a tougher question, but I like to see how people reflect back on their life and their career. What were some of the things that potentially held you back from a pro career? Because I know you didn't quite make that jump. What were some of the things, like, was it the knee injury, or what do you think held you back in that
No,
sense?
I don't think it was the injury. I think, for me, I was trying so hard to accomplish everything in one fell swoop, and not really understand the process that it needed to happen, and the maturity of balancing school and playing, and really kind of see the big picture of what that was. I had a really good, time at Furman, and played well, and maybe could have been on a projection for that, but it was something that I needed to learn from, and then be able to move forward within the sport, and really fortunate to be able to go into coaching, and find my way through that.
And then, so you obviously, we were just speaking a little bit about it before, but you actually did have a pro career with North Carolina through kind of the pandemic. You had to sign a pro contract. Can you talk through that story and kind of how it happened?
Yeah, it's certainly unique. And I think it's one more item of just being around the club for long enough that interesting things happen, right? So, but no, it was in 2020. I was the assistant coach with Dave Sterrican as the head coach, for North Carolina FC. We were playing in the USL Championship. COVID hit, and with all the protocols and everything that was happening, it was a mess, to be honest. And we had 6 or 7 guys that were in COVID protocols that weren't able to come to training, couldn't do much. And so, at that stage, I was still playing with the group, and was able to keep up to a degree. Um, but because we had so many guys in COVID protocol, we kind of ran out of players. So I signed a contract for the rest of the season in 2020, and it took COVID and me turning 40 for it to be able to have a pro career. But there was $100 appearance fee in my $0 salary contract, that I was trying to get Coach Saracen to get me on the field. I told him he could take the $100 if I could get on the field, but it never happened. So, which is probably good for the club. So
Yeah, probably. That's what I was reading through some of the research on that, and they said they didn't actually want to see you on the field. We were just glad to have you, but on the coaching front, maybe not on the playing front. So
yeah.
yeah, so then into coaching, like you mentioned, you were with Dallas Texans Soccer Club. Then you transitioned to, I believe, the Capital Area Soccer League back in North Carolina, and then that was actually the start of, I believe, it's now transitioned into North Carolina's academy. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so I mean,
Sort of.
yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, the way that the club has kind of evolved. So I came back to North Carolina in 2005, and there were some coaches that I had previously, or played against when they were coaching: Jay Howell, Michael Balazzo, Rusty Scarborough, Bruce Talbot, guys that were at Castle that were responsible for really trying to get the club on the map, which they did certainly. And for me, coming back into the club there, and then basically starting at the whatever they have available level. I'd been an assistant director in West Texas for the Dallas Texans, but that position wasn't going to be a parallel transition back with Capital Area Soccer League with Castle. So I literally started with our U9s, U10s, and then just kind of made myself accessible, and stayed for extra sessions, and tried to learn from other coaches, and really tried to work my way up. I was joking with Bruce Talbot the other day, who was here for our NCFC youth tournament series, about how he and I had built the fence, and basically he had built the fence, but there was a wooden fence that used to be around our main complex, WRAL, that he and I were out there every morning with a few other guys, putting in the wood posts and connecting
Wow.
them and going that route, which now is no longer there. We've got nice metal fences that look a little bit better, but it was just part of this long, positive journey within the youth club. And like you said, the transition from Castle happened in 2016 in terms of the name, to form with Triangle Football Club Alliance at that time, TFCA, um, and Castle, and the Carolina Railhawks on the pro side, to then collectively form North Carolina FC, and then the youth side obviously became NCFC Youth, which it has been since 2016, and still is now.
And now that you've like transitioned, so when you transitioned from coming from Texas to North Carolina, starting as a U9, U10 coach, and then moving all your way up, now into a more senior position. What is it like now when you're working with those coaches that are in those positions that you once worked, and kind of guiding them into a long-term career at the club?
It's unique. It's interesting. I was we've had many different names for our youth programming that have evolved over the years, but I was a director at U9, at U10, U11, and all the way up as it went for our classic boys, our academy program, and so on and so on. So, working with coaches in those areas now, it's interesting to see how the club has evolved and the unique challenges that they face that maybe I didn't face before, and the growth that the club has gone through. But there's also I think some basic fundamentals in youth coaching and youth director ship that kind of translates from there to there. And it's also unique because I have three kids that are playing, and watching them go through the programs, and seeing the opportunities that they're having, and the management of the different directors that are all doing a great job in those areas too. So it's just been a very positive opportunity to kind of see the club evolve over time.
And then you mentioned, so you're now 18 years in. What are some of the keys to a relationship? Like most people, I know I struggle even now with having a girlfriend or keeping a relationship long term. 18 years with a club is really impressive, especially when the average turnover for most managers is 9 months nowadays in the professional game. Being with a club for 18 years, what are some of those key points to the relationship that have made things work between you and the club?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't say enough about the support from the club, and that's come from different individuals and the board and leadership, and then also learning from fellow coaches. It's funny. Sean Nahas is the head coach of North County Courage, which is the women's professional team within our club. And he and I have been at the club about the same time, him about a year longer. But this long journey of kind of coaching through the youth, and then being provided opportunities, basically. But I think the keys for me at North County FC, in the youth side, and the opportunity to evolve and grow, in addition to the great support that I've had from people, has just been a willingness to really be open, and a willingness to really try to learn, and understand that things can always be better, and we can always improve, and we never rest on how things are. So, just kind of that openness, I believe.
And then you spoke a little bit about your time with the youth national team, your university experience, and even we mentioned even being in the pro side as a coach. What is it like now nurturing young players in your club slowly that are now taking some of those steps that you once took, and you're able to kind of show your experience on them?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, I think anytime that a young player has an opportunity to progress themselves, and there's avenues for them to do that, it's an exciting moment, and the only thing that we can do really is give as much guidance as applicable, and try to help the players understand that, make the most of the opportunities you have, and control the things you can't, or you can, and don't worry about those that you can't. But again, the unique process that goes through a young player, whether it's trying to move up within teams and levels within a club, whether it's trying to go through the college recruiting process, whether it's opportunities that are unique like it is at NCFC, where a young player might come into the professional environment and have opportunities to train and earn more. These are all things that I think, at the backbone of all of it is support, relationship, and individual care, which is probably everything there is about coaching and leadership, is finding out how you can best support the individual, and trying to put that into action.
And then the last few seasons, I was looking at kind of some of the records you've had. You've broken the win record multiple time, points record. So this year, I think you broke the club record again with 19 wins. And you obviously ended up winning the league title. Can you walk me through kind of this season? What were some of the key strategies or points that made that such a powerful season for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think this season obviously was a phenomenal season for the club, and we had a great group of guys here in 2023 that put together, a really fantastic season, from start to finish, in terms of the off season, the recruitment, and bringing this group together, a quality preseason. And then I think that we were, I think it was like 20 weeks out of 33 possible weeks at number one, in the league standings, and then fell short of one of our goals, which was definitely to win the Players' Shield, but, then able to win the playoff and win the championship, which is a testament to the group. So, I mean, walking through the season would take a long time to go through,
Yeah.
but the main thing really is just the takeaway of a great group of collection of staff, support staff, technical staff, and the players. The players made the season what it was, and So many moments throughout the season you could point to and say it could have gone this way or that way, but the guys made it go a certain way. And this year comes on the heels of 21 and 22, which were not record-breaking years. We didn't break any records in a positive way for those two seasons where, we were much younger, we were much more, inclined to give opportunities to the academy guys, which is great, and a lot of professional debuts. But without that kind of experience and a little bit more quality that we were able to have kind of overall within the roster this year, that was what able to kind of turn the corner.
And then you mentioned now you're obviously having a really busy off season, and you guys are getting prepared for moving up into the USL Championship. What's that transition like now? Now getting ready for new competition and a higher level in a sense.
Yeah, I mean it's not that many years ago that we were there,
Mhm.
obviously, and I think some of the clubs have changed. Some of the styles have changed a bit, but for the most part, I think it's just simply a more competitive league to a degree, and obviously a larger league than the amount of teams in USL League One. So for us, it's been great from the front office and from the owner. The idea of how we go back into the championship is that we want to be highly competitive immediately, and still continue to blend that with our youth player development and putting opportunities in front of young players and helping nurture them through that. But building the roster has been positive. We're able to maintain some of the players that we had on this past year's team in 2023 in League One, but then also attract some of the top guys in USL Championship, and we're excited about the roster we're building.
And you mentioned the competitiveness side and how you really want to compete, and then also how you have your experience only being there a few years ago. You know the competition, you know what the league structure is like. Do you think that was part of the reason why you signed your new contract with the club? That mutual, you've been there for 18 years, they know who you are, they know what you're capable of, and so they wanted to extend that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously this year's gone positively, and not just looking at things from wins loss over the last couple of years, but kind of the progress of what the club's made in terms of the youth development project and attracting young talent and continuing to make club relationships, domestically, globally. There's been a lot of positives, and so I've got a really positive relationship with our front office and owner, and appreciate the support that they've continued to have throughout, and excited about the next chapter.
So we'll get into some of the, I call them like the insiders lounge favorites. They're almost selfish on my end. I like hearing the answers from people that when they answer. So for the first one, soccer's a roller coaster game. You always have these highs and lows throughout your playing career, coaching career, wherever you're involved in the industry. There always tends to be these big swoops of change. What were some of the most significant challenges maybe in your playing career and now in your coaching career? And how did you overcome those and make those a thing where now you can look back and kind of learn from them and grow?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the playing career, through different opportunities and situations, there's always something to take away that you might want to be a little bit better or whatever it may be. And when I was growing up, there wasn't as much of an emphasis on physical periodization and you can only train X amount of times and whatever it was. For us, it was I have an older brother who played on an older team, and I would train with my team, I'd train with his team, I'd train with whatever team was around, and you just tried to get as much as you possibly could. And I think that helped. It was unique in that sense. But then as things kind of change and you have to start being more specific with which team you're playing for and how you forecast the future to be, those are all things that I had to go through to try to understand what was going to be best for me and how I could affect each team that I was with. Playing in multiple teams, playing in a state team, a regional team, a national team, a high school team, a club team. All that at the
Yeah.
same time, and trying to be effective and beneficial in all those different groups. But I do think it helps with interpersonal relationships and how you communicate with people, because taking that level of how you did it as a player to the coaching standpoint, I think, makes bridging that gap a bit easier. But for me, probably the biggest one was the injury and having all my sights set on playing in the U17 World Cup. Like I said, playing every minute of qualifying and kind of being a mainstay, and then having to be on the sidelines as I was recovering for what seemed like an eternity, and knowing that the program had to move forward and find a replacement and go that route. It was difficult, but I think when players go through setbacks and things like that at early stages of their career, it's more beneficial than those that are always make the team and everything is all good, and then all of a sudden at some stage that ends. So that was that. And then from a coaching career, in terms of highs and lows, I've had a million of them. I think that's the job. Even the most recent game, the championship game, where we go down in overtime, and you kind of feel that, like, okay, I hope these guys can pull it out. And we've done it plenty of times before this season and gone down and found a way. But then like you said, the roller coaster of getting back to 1-1 and then the PKs and everything. That's obviously still fresh from what just happened. But seasons have those. Guys go through things on and off the field with themselves, with their families, and it brings different emotions to the locker room and to the club, and to the team, and kind of maneuvering through those are all opportunities to try to be supportive and positive and learn from.
And we've spoken now about your playing career. We've spoken the coaching career, both very impressive careers in their own. Do you have advice for people that are kind of looking to either follow the playing career path and want to get into and strive for a national team setting and get into college soccer and really progress their career that way? And even on the coaching front, there might be either players or coaches that are just beginning and starting their coaching career that are wanting to see how to grow their career and get to a level that you're at. Do you have advice for either of those kind of groups of people?
Yeah, I mean, I think staying the course, understanding it's a process, not trying to solve everything in one moment, and make too much progress at one moment. From the playing standpoint, obviously a lot of that's dependent on what opportunities are there for players and what can be provided for them. But I think from a playing mindset, just doing everything you can to earn those opportunities, to try to open those doors, and when those situations happen, making the most of it. It's a long old saying of you never know who's watching and what could change and that kind of thing. But the players that kind of carve out their mentality to be, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do the best that I can, I'm going to control what I can, I'm going to go home and I'm going to show up back again tomorrow, I'm going to do the same thing over and over again, are usually the ones that find those rewards, from that standpoint. So the advice for the young player that's going through it is going to be, learn about your environment, do the best you can with it, be ambitious, but at the same time understand it's a process that doesn't happen overnight. And then from the coaching standpoint, it's similar. It's something where no path is directly uniform, where it just always kind of goes in the right direction. There's going to be ups and downs. You learn from all of those. You almost want those, because it gives you more experience and items in your tool belt. So I think just understanding that the whole thing is a process and the whole thing takes time and can take different shapes, is the main advice that I would give.
I feel like I'm almost in a team huddle, getting ready to go out for a game. If we sat down in about 5 to 10 years, let's say, so some people we have on, they look for the future, they kind of have goals set. Others are just day-to-day grinders. They want to work on today, and they don't really look into the future. But if we were to sit down and have a conversation in 5 to 10 years, where do you think you'll be, and how do you think your career will have changed?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in terms of where I'll be in 10 years, I mean, I'm very, very happy and very motivated where I am right now, and feel supported and feel like the club is in an amazing moment right now to have a positive direction. I think there's a big project for us where we obviously want to be successful in USL Championship. We have young players that are on trial right now. We have two young men that are at PSV in Holland. We have one that's going to be joining them. And as we go into next year, kind of building on what we did this year, where we transferred two of our young talents out to other clubs, but building on that and continuing to attract and get young players from across the United States to come and join us. I think that's a big piece too that I'm highly motivated with and excited with to balance with the club success that we want to have. And I'm highlighting the young guys, but when you even talk about the 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, those guys that still have more to prove, and even older, that we're intent on trying to help their development as much as possible and see how many players we can progress to whatever their ceiling is, whatever the next level may be. If it's MLS, if it's a continued career in USL champ, whatever it may be. And then even on the other side, we've got an exciting transition that's going to be happening with one of our players who's come to the end of his playing career and is now going to be joining my staff on the pro side as well. So the whole club, in my opinion, and from my standpoint, it should stand for development and kind of progression of what's next. So in 5 years, hopefully, we've got some success stories to talk about on all those different levels. And like I said, I'm happy with where I'm at and excited to see what's going to happen.
And then you touched on it a little bit there, but just before we get into kind of the last quick fire questions, what is your day to day like during the season? Like if you can just give a quick summary of it, and then also in the off season, because some people might not know, some people might know in season what you're kind of doing, and then off season's a totally different thing. So you want to touch on those two quickly?
Yeah, it's full because right now again I'm head coach of North Carolina FC on the pro side, and I'm academy director on the NCFC youth side,
Right.
and trying to find a balance between those two things, which certainly are individually full-time jobs on their own right. But let's see, my day to day, I'm an early riser, 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'm up. Like I said, I've got three kids, and I want to be as present and helpful as I can with them as they're getting ready for school and whatever. But in season, I'm up usually doing video or session preparation early, and then helping with that kind of out the door, off to school moment, in between. And then at the session, get to the locker room and try to interact with the staff and the players, which is kind of the most enjoyable part of the whole thing, to be honest. And then have the session afterwards, kind of recap and planning. Then most days either off to the youth office to kind of interact with the academy staff and see what's going there, and then off to the youth fields in the evening. Partly as the academy director to be part of our teams that are trained there, and then partly as the family chauffeur to get our kids out to their own training sessions and that kind of thing. So it's an early morning to potentially an 8:30 finish most nights, and then trying to find the balance between, is that every day, or there's some days where it's, I'm not at the youth office, or I'm not, whatever, maneuvering through that. But it's again, I enjoy it. It's being surrounded by great people that are like-minded in terms of the ambition for the club. So it makes it um, a work that's fun to do.
Great. And we'll get into some of the quick fire questions now. Did you have a favorite club growing up, and how did you get involved with supporting them?
I did not have a favorite club growing up.
Okay, that's a unique answer.
Yeah, we so when I was growing up, the obviously there was the start of MLS when I was, in my teenage years early, and then trying to kind of maneuver, like, who do I care about here?
Mhm.
Obviously, everybody usually finds an international club that they follow. The only TV station that we had in Winston-Salem that covered anything that was from overseas was Fox Sports South, and they had Manchester United only. And so my brother became a huge Manchester United fan. I've always been a guy that as soon as he likes something, I like the other thing. So I didn't want to care for Manchester United, and there just wasn't that much else
Mm.
to be able to see live. That was back in the day when we were getting VHS tapes for Christmas of all the 1,001 goals and the FA Cup best goals, and whatever it was, long before internet and being able to find stuff quickly. So anyway, club relationships that we had with other clubs, started learning more about, made club visits to Chelsea, to Real Madrid, to other ones, and really just started appreciating all
Mhm.
of the big clubs and all the qualities, and taking the different things away from them. But even to this day, I don't have one club that I say I follow these guys all the time, which is
All right.
crazy.
Yeah, that is. Well, that's all right. Now you have North Carolina, so you're good. You got
That's
that
right.
one covered. Do you have a favorite quote or saying that you live by?
I've written one up on our board inside
Mhm.
the staff locker room. It says with little laughter comes little success. And for me, it's a constant reminder of, one, we're pretty fortunate. We get to coach within a sport, and be around good people and all that, and the reminder to enjoy it, laugh, and let that be the success that we have.
That's a great one. I haven't heard that one yet, so that's good. Do you have top recommendations for North Carolina? You spent, obviously you're a local boy. You spent your time there. Do you have a top like food recommendation or places to go?
Yeah, I mean, like, everybody talks about North Carolina barbecue, so
Mhm.
that's one, I think, when you come to visit, that's something that people need to have. There's a lot of local restaurants and everything that are really growing, and I think Raleigh specifically, Durham, Cary. There's a lot of great restaurants that have kind of come around there. So there's some spots around the stadium that are kind of getting bigger, that are pretty cool. But I'm also just kind of a set in my ways guy. Like, we we have the same. My wife's a great cook, and we have family dinners, but then we also get to go to the same restaurants almost all the time. So,
And then if you're in season, you got to go watch the North Carolina game.
of course,
That's got to be one
absolutely,
of the stops.
that's it.
Are you a reader? Do you read books? And then
I,
do you have a favorite book?
well, I'm a guy that likes to make plans to read books and then probably doesn't read the book. So I've got, I think upstairs right now, Mindset is on and Mindset and Grit are the last two that I've read. And I've read them each a few times over. But I like the more things that I think can apply to how I'm thinking currently about
Mhm.
our team and our season and our club. That kind of just kind of continue to bring those ideas to the front of my brain and kind of how I'm viewing things.
No, that's fair. I'm the same way. I have a list of 40 books to read, and I don't know how quick I'll be getting to them.
That's right.
Do you have any favorite hobbies outside of soccer to just break your day up and kind of, I know you have a family now, so that's kind of one of the things that can help that, but do you have any other hobbies that kind of break things up?
No, that's the main thing. I mean,
Hmm.
it's if it's outside of work, it's trying to support and spend time with the kids and what they're doing. And my wife's a school teacher, and they're all at the exact same school, and so kind of trying to be present there, and follow them within the different sports that they're doing and everything. Uh, yeah, that's about all the time that we have.
No, that's good. That's the way it should be once you get to once you have a family. If you could sit down with one person for a meal or for dinner, who would it be and why? They can be dead or alive.
Sorry.
No, no, you're all good.
Um, yeah, great question.
Maybe
Yeah,
like an
I would
idol
go.
you've had in the past, or it can be really anyone.
Yeah, I would go differently. I would go family. I would go people I probably, my grandparents and
Hmm.
that I lost early, and I would probably go family of a number of different people that I could think of to try to reconnect with and learn more from and spend time with.
No, that's great. The best one we've had so far is someone said his wife, and that was huge brownie points to him because I think she appreciated that one. But yeah, that's all I've got for you. I appreciate you coming on. If there's any last words you want to say, and then we can wrap things up.
No, I really appreciate you having me on. It's a great platform to be able to share a little bit and hopefully have some kind of small impact or whatever on somebody else. So I really appreciate it.
Definitely, and enjoy the rest of your off season, and we'll be in touch.
Sounds good.
Have a good one.